What's up? It's a very special edition of ACC Baseball Etc, part of the D1 Baseball Podcast Network, and as always, presented by our friends at Academy Sports and Outdoors, where they carry all the best gear from all the top brands, all at prices you will love. And shopping is more convenient than ever at academy.com and on the Academy app. You can enjoy free shipping on orders of $25 or more with sign-in. Shop anytime, anywhere, and find the widest selection of colors, styles, and sizes. As a matter of fact, I just recently upgraded the driver in my golf bag, and I did that at Academy Sports and Outdoors, among the many, many things that you can buy to upgrade your sporting life. I'm Daron Vaught. No gravy this week. I know he's disappointed to miss our guest, who is one of our favorites, the ACC home run king, Milwaukee Brewers prospect, former Wake Forest slugger, Brock Wilken. Brock, it has been approximately 2.5 years since you have set face on this show. So we're glad to welcome you back. Hope you're doing well and hope your offseason's off to a good start.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. It's been a fun ride. You know, last time we were on it was a really good fun time. So I'm glad to be back on there. Thanks for having me.
So I want to start sort of in the here and now. You just had a great season in Biloxi, AA level with the Milwaukee Brewers, but the big club this year, not that the Brewers haven't been good since they drafted you. It's a different story when you got the best regular season record in all of Major League Baseball. That buzz has to trickle down, right, and carry through the entire organization. Was there kind of like a different feeling playing in the Brewers org this year?
Yeah, it was different for sure because, like, you know, to start at the beginning of the year, they were not very good. They were by far one of the worst teams in baseball, and we're like, uh-oh, like, how is this going to go? Because, like, obviously for us minor leaguers, it's way different. Like, is that going to be good for us minor leaguers, or is it going to be bad because they want to keep all the guys there? Is there going to be a lot of movement? Is there not going to be? So that was like a really, really interesting thing to see them kind of go from where they were to where they ended up. It was really cool. And then, you know, you get on the field and you're playing other organizations, and other organizations like, man, like, you guys are just killing it. Like, you guys got to keep going. We're like, I guess, like, I mean, we don't have any say, but yeah, like, you know, it's just cool to see how the whole baseball world is kind of intertwined and everyone watches each other at all times.
Yeah. This was your first full season as a father. I'm curious how that changed things during the year for you this year.
It was much different, but a very good different. You know, made it so much, honestly, easier on me. My wife, she's rock solid. She's the best thing ever. And then my little guy, he's the next best thing. So coming home to those two, you know, if it's after a bad game or after a bad week, makes it just a lot easier to come home and see him crawling towards me and just dad. And he just the biggest smile with his front teeth hanging out. It's awesome. So being able to come home to that. And then, you know, the guys at the field loved him too. So I take him in early. I take him in after the games, and he loved being in there with the guys, eating blueberries and eating nanas is what he does.
I love that, man. Has that changed your perspective? And again, it's been 2.5 years since we've caught up in sort of this professional, public official capacity.
Yep.
There's probably been a lot of change that has come with your perspective of playing the game, right? Because it's not that you don't treat it like a job at Wake Forest, but it is literally your job now. So that's one thing. You mentioned your wife. You've gotten married since the last time we talked. Your son is entered the mix. Like, compare for me that last season at Wake Forest mentality, or even just you as a whole. Let's say Wake Forest Brock versus the here and now Brock. Like, what are some of the main differences?
Yeah, it's a lot different. I'll hit on the topic of like the Wake Forest part first, because obviously, you know, we know a lot of the baseball world knows, like, that team was very close and intertwined, connected. Like, inseparable at all times. So like that for us was really special because we keep in contact with each other. So we kind of had that this year in Biloxi where everyone was super close, super connected. And at the minor league level, you don't find that very often, right? Because it's like, oh, I'm trying to get out of here. I'm trying to go to the next level. So for us to have 27, 28 guys pulling all in the same direction and having so much fun doing it, like that made this year so much fun, so enjoyable. And I think that's why not only myself, but a lot of other guys had a lot of success throughout the years because there wasn't that added pressure of like, oh man, like I got to get a hit because my teammates don't like me. You know what I mean? It's kind of that aspect of it. But yeah, you mentioned some huge changes for me. That it's funny because I was kind of the jokester, the prankster guy, making a lot of jokes, chirping a bunch at Wake, and now it's a lot different. I still do those things, but I'm also a dad, so everyone calls me, hey dad, come over here in the clubhouse. So I looked up to that way in a little different aspect as well. So it's cool to see how the changes happen throughout your own life, and kind of self-reflect on those as well is pretty huge. So just seeing the changes and the maturation process of myself, not only as a baseball player, but as a human being, as a dad and a husband, has been really cool to reflect on.
I like the comparison with a core group of guys throughout a minor league season, whereas there's some changing levels, but for the most part, it sounds like you guys had a solid group there in Biloxi. I like the comparison to a college team that sticks together and has the opportunities to get close. Those Wake guys, how do you guys stay in touch? Is there like one big group text? Are you in several because of like certain groups of you? How does that dynamic work now?
Yeah, there's a bunch. A lot of us still keep in contact. Just text like one-on-one mainly just because everyone's so busy and not everyone's going to respond to group chats. Especially, all those big guys, Kurtz, Burns, Louder, some of those guys that are in the big leagues and have people texting them off the charts. They don't really respond to everyone. So, those closer relationships that you have that you can kind of just one-on-one text has been really cool to see, and just, how they go throughout their day, and, just how everyone still keeps in touch, no matter how busy you are. You shoot any one of those guys a text, everyone's going to respond. So it's really cool to see that continue on still 2.5 years later.
Yeah. I'm curious how much comparing the pro journey do you guys do? And maybe how much have you found out about, man, different teams do things, do this or that differently? As is obvious by my conversations with Nick, who's in Oakland or whatever, or Sacramento.
Yeah, it's you do a lot of comparing, but at the same time, like everyone's got their own journey, so you can't really compare too much. Like for Nick, yeah, that was the best combination of outcomes that could have happened. He got drafted by a team that really needed a hitters in general, and you got the best one ever. So that was the best storm for him, and for him to make his debut really early and then to do what he did. So it's different to compare each guy, and it's tough, but at the same time it's like, man, like you're still so happy for those guys because it's like you want nothing but the best. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I was going to get to this a little bit later, just in terms of like goal setting, but this seems like a good segue. Look, like as an athlete, as somebody who wants to be a high achiever in their sport, like you've dealt with sort of the comparative thinking forever.
Oh, yeah.
How would you assess your skill level at that, given, you've got college teammates who made that very fast jump and that's yet to happen for you, but is obviously something you're pushing for.
Yeah. And that's just, that was kind of our saying this year in Biloxi. It's just part of it. I credit that to our first base coach, Matt Lipka. It's just part of it. You know what I mean? Like that's just part of the game, part of life. Everyone's got their own journey. And, you know, I love those guys. Those are some of my best friends in the entire world. So I want nothing but the best for them. My journey's been a little different. Been hindered by kind of two freak major accidents. You know, taking 95 to my cheekbone wasn't very pleasing. This year I dislocated my kneecap, and I missed 3 months of the season. So, like, just freak accidents that kind of hindered me from progressing from where I could have gone. But again, everyone's got their own journey, so I'll know, you know, when I get there, if this is where I'm supposed to be or not.
Yeah, for sure. You mentioned the injuries. That's of course on my list of things to talk about. Not really nitty-gritty about them specifically, but for those who aren't aware, you mentioned the hit by pitch. I mean, you took a fastball to the face and what was like one of the more scary injuries we've seen in baseball. Reconstructive surgery, like I don't know. Do you have metal in there now? Like I can imagine. Like, look, man, I played against a guy in high school who took a pitch to the cheekbone as a junior, and I just remember being like, nothing will impress me more than showing up our senior year in the game against that guy. And like his first AB, he wears one in the ribs. I'm like, man, how did you even get back in the box after last year? Right.
Yeah.
So I am equally impressed by your ability to stay with it and do that. Not just to get back into the box, but to have the year that you had and to get basically right back on track. Mentally, what was that like for you? Emotionally as well, like just what all was wrapped up in that?
Yeah, that was probably the hardest thing that I've had to do on the baseball field. From the mental and emotional aspect of that, you take 95 to the face, you don't want to stand in another batter's box for a while. So, you know, I went out to Arizona, had surgery. Luckily, they said if it was 1 millimeter or 2 millimeters deeper of a fracture in my orbital bone, they would have had to put metal plates in my cheek. Luckily, I didn't have to do that. I just kind of had reconstructive surgery on my nose. But, you know, getting back in the box, it was kind of, at first I was like, man, this isn't that bad. And then I'm rehabbing in the complex league in Arizona, and I get hit 3 more times before I even get back to Biloxi. And I only played 1 game. And I was like, dude, like, what's going on here? Like, I don't know how this is going to go. So for me, mentally, that was probably the biggest struggle. Just like, all right. And I'm wearing a softball cage across, and I still have that kind of fear and emotional state of like, uh-oh, like what's going to happen? So that for me was super, super tough to come back from. But again, it's just part of it. You know what I mean? You just got to stick with it. You got to keep grinding it out, keep just getting in there every single day, doing what you can to just better yourself and just continue to go play. I ended up doing eye therapy, actually. It honestly saved my life and career. I had no idea about it. So my uncle coaches high school baseball down in Florida, where I'm from. And one of his kids got hit in the head, and it kind of did the same thing, kind of messed with him. He wasn't really the same. You could kind of see the decision-making and the swing decisions weren't the same. She's like, all right, like, you know, let's try to get this figured out. This kid from his high school goes to this place. It's about an hour from my house. And basically eye rehab, eye therapy. It's kind of the same thing as if you have TJ, if you have a shoulder surgery, you rehab it, you do all that stuff. So I'm there from December 9th until February 6th is when I left for spring training. I did it every single day except for 3 days. And man, that changed my entire everything. Like, I was seeing the ball better. And when I originally went in, he did the original diagnosis. I was at the 50th percentile of depth perception of the average American at my age.
Huh.
Professional baseball players are not average Americans. You know what I mean? So it's like for me to be in the biggest deficiency of hitting a baseball was huge. So we got that figured out. The next one was my eyes were converged more than they should have because of the impact. So they were converged. So it was like looking like I was basically staring at my phone the whole time when I'm trying to look at the pitcher 60 feet away. The other one was, since the left side of my face took such a huge impact, the left eye and the left side of my brain tried to work overtime and make my left eye the dominant eye when my right eye is my dominant eye. So you have all of that mixing together. It's just a whirlwind of a disaster. So went there, did all that, rehabbed everything, got it back, and made one simple change in spring training to my setup. And I mean, the first half I had was really special. It was really, really fun just to see that success and to see that full process come to a full 180 was such a big boost of confidence for myself.
Dude, that's such a wild timeline. So you got hit by the pitch in April of last year, 24. Mm-hmm. And what you're talking about is, of course, after surgery and all that, basically over the winter, right up until spring training, doing this therapy. Out of curiosity, like what kind of exercises were you doing? Were you like covering your other eye and reading the big letters on the wall like you would for a normal eye appointment?
Dude, I can't even begin. People ask me this question all the time, and I'm like, if you don't do this or witness this yourself, like what I'm about to say makes zero sense, and it's like talking about an alien that you just saw for the first time. You're like, what is that? But basically what they did, the first part was you lay on a table, and it's a audio, a visual, and a body kind of sensory activity. But I lay on the table for an hour, and I stare up at this circle, and the circle is one color for a certain amount of time. It's another circle for another amount of time, all while the bed is like doing circular motions and going back, like just crazy things. And I have headphones on. So that was like the first hour of my rehab. And then I would go into the actual kind of therapy process of like doing different exercises and kind of going about it like that. So I drive an hour, I spend 2 hours there, and I drive an hour home. And that was basically the first 4 hours of my day. And then I'd go do baseball. So it was a tough stretch, especially with my son being 3 and 4 months old at the time. But again, like I said, my wife, she's the best. She's the rock. So she kept it. And honestly, she's the one that told me to get my eyes checked. And I was like, I understand. Like, I just get in the face, but I can see fine. Like, my vision's not messed up. I'm going throughout the year, and I'm like, man, I'm not playing as well. Like, maybe she's right. And then I get to fall league. Fall league was better, but it wasn't as good. And I'm like, all right, it's time to get my eyes checked. And then my uncle texted me about the kid that he had. And I was like, all right, well, that's 2 people I trust the most. So I'm going to go do it. And did it, and it works. It works. I'm going to do it again this offseason. Like, I'm fully convinced that it completely works.
Yeah. Wow. And so that leads to you having this incredible first half for Biloxi. And you mentioned a second freak injury.
Mm-hmm.
You hurt your knee during a clubhouse celebration. And I just look, this is a no shame zone, Brock. How did it happen?
So we're playing Knoxville, double A affiliate for the Cubs, and my birthday was June 17th. I get hurt on June 18th. So the day after my 23rd birthday, we clinched the first half. And in the minor leagues, it's not like the big leagues where you kind of have to wait the whole year to see if you're going to the playoffs. In the minor leagues, if you win the first half or win the second half, you're automatically in the playoffs. So for us, we won the first half. Like I said, we had an unreal year, and we won the first half, something that we haven't done in many years in Biloxi. We're in the clubhouse, and we have champagne. Our manager gives a speech. I have a video of it, and it's actually insane. Because I had one of my best friends, Mike Bovey, video it from my phone, and the whole timeline of everything is just played out. Our manager's speech is 1.5 minutes long, and the video Until I Get Hurt is 1 minute and 50 seconds. So we're celebrating for 20 seconds until I slip and get hurt. So anyways, he gives our speech. We start celebrating, and I'll send you the video so you can kind of see it. It's the most innocent freak accident you could ever think of. I'm sitting there, and you see it on the video. I literally just start pouring champagne, and I take one step back with my left foot, and the lower half of my leg goes this way, the upper half of my leg goes this way, and the knee's on the outside of my leg, outside of my knee. And I'm sitting on the ground, and I'm like, put it back in, put it back in. So needless to say, that killed the vibe. I'm sorry for the fellas. I still hate that, but just is what it is.
But obviously that's all good now. And you got back to it and finished out the season, and everything's good. Everything's good. But man, that's quite the 1-2 punch of just like weird, not common stuff.
Yeah. And like, it's part of the thing. It's like where you try not to compare and try not to do this, and at the same time, like I said, you just got to get back in there. You got to keep grinding every day, and your journey is your journey for a reason. What you do is, either going to propel yourself or it's going to hold you back. So for me, I busted my tail for 11 weeks, and my rehab coordinator was like, man, that was tough. He told me when I left, he's like, man, I was like, that's a horrible way to end your year. And so, just to get back in there again and have that confidence of my knee, playing on it again, hitting on it again, playing third base on it again was super huge, crucial for this upcoming year.
Yeah. I want to talk a little bit more about the journey for you sort of broadly. I know in Milwaukee, and this is not the most novel thing with a big league club, it's an organization that's very analytically driven. And Wake Forest has a reputation of being very analytically driven. How much carryover was there from the information you prioritized, the way you thought about certain information while you were at Wake versus what Milwaukee wants you to do and wanted you to sort of adjust to?
Yeah. So, honestly, think that the biggest thing is just, I think there's more information available. There's more information available, not only on myself or the opposing team, but on the opposing team, on, the opposing pitchers. And you can kind of just go back to, from the time they started their pro career and kind of look of how they adjusted, and they can look at it, see how I've adjusted. So I think the information's always been there, and the information that I like, I think that's why Wake was another huge development process for me. It was like, I could kind of decipher what information I needed to take with me into the game to go be successful, because you have all this information. And if you can't decipher what's good for you and what's bad for you, like, you're just going to be an absolute jumble mess, whether it's on the mound or in the box, because it's how you attack the guy, hitter and pitcher. So I think for me, that was so huge to be able to access that information, but then also have my coaching staff help me with, like, okay, this is what you need. And I'm like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. And then I kind of figure out my own stuff of what else I need, and kind of take that with me into professional baseball. And then obviously just have way more access to information at the pro level. So being able to get that from our organization, and then them help me with other things as well. Each org is different with how they view analytics. And obviously ours are huge. on that. So you kind of have to buy into it a little bit. You can't be super old school and be like, I hate the analytics, so you kind of have to look at it and buy into it a little bit. And, again, that's helped me a ton in my development process as well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you had good practice with it. Now,
yeah.
I am curious, though, because I probably have asked you something similar when you were playing at Wake. How do you get through, like you said, there's even more info now. That can be overwhelming. Like, Where do you start when you try to chisel it down to, okay, this is the important stuff?
Honestly, for me, I keep it as simple as possible. What does the guy throw? How hard are the pitches that he throws? And then his go-to pitch. What's his out pitch? Is it his slider? Is it the heater? And then the movement on the pitches. So, if the guy has a ton of carry on the heater, if he has a ton of sink, if it's a sweeper, if it's a bullet slider, if a guy does a right on right changeup, is that going to be in play as well? I think that's kind of where I start, and then I kind of decipher it from there. It was like, okay, pick my spots, pick my counts to attack certain pitches here, and then see how they pitch guys, or see how they pitch me with runners in scoring position. And then I think that's a huge key as well. Of like, that's something I really realized this year is like, okay, what is this guy's leverage pitch with runners in scoring position? Because for me, like a middle of the order bat, I'm normally going to have guys on and in scoring position. So how are they going to utilize their best pitch in that scenario? And that was something I really utilized this year from our AA hitting coach. So that was super huge for me this year as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you find that you're a little less, I know you were thoughtful about your plate appearances at Wake Forest, but at that level, a lower level, talent can kind of just overcome a lot. Do you find yourself a little less just like, okay, I'm just going to let it ride and hope that I'm skilled enough to make this happen? So because it sounds like you say you keep it simple, but it's like simple with a purpose, because there's clearly thought in sort of the simple things that you chalk it up to.
No doubt. You have to have a process and a plan. Like if you don't have your process is how you work in every day. Like what are you coming in to do? What are you achieving to do every single day? And then that plan, when you mix those two things together, that is the recipe for success. So that process of like, all right, how am I going to do my cage routine today? How did they pitch me last time we faced them? Is it going to be, all right, I gotta hit the slider machine today, or I gotta hit the ride heaters today because that's what they're throwing me. So the way you dive into each day and that process of each day, and then how you attack your plan along with that process, I think is just the best way to be successful in anything, whether it's life, being a dad, being a baseball, whatever it is, you know what I mean? Like that's just how you have to kind of approach it to have success there.
I would think infinitely less that you can plan for with the little guy. Like he's just gonna, it's just gonna happen. He's
starting to walk on his own now, and he's starting to have his own opinions. And his favorite things. No. Anytime I tell him no, he mocks me. So it's just part of it. You know what I mean? You just gotta have fun with it, roll with the punches. It's a good time around there.
Love that. All right, a couple more to wrap things up. Before I want to get into another mindset baseball question, but before I do so, any updates? Again, it's been 2.5 years. Any updates to the sneaker collection? Where does that stand with Brock? Has that taken a back seat now with everything else that's come?
No, it's probably gone up way more. I can hear my wife upstairs shaking her head at this question because she yells at me all the time. You have too many shoes. Get rid of them. I'm like, all my sneakers are out in the garage now, so she doesn't have to see them that much. But man, it's an uptick for sure. I have a couple shoe guys that give me some good deals on some good sneaks. So I have definitely upped the collection. That is definitely gone up a bunch, and mainly in the Kobe's selection.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yep.
Nice. All right. So I've got a friend who is from Virginia like me, and he swam at UConn, but when he went away to school, his retro Jordan collection was so great that he couldn't just like leave them at home or take them all with him. So he took out like a storage unit. It was a problem in a way that your wife would be very perturbed, right?
Yeah.
But he had like multiples of so many different pairs, and I'm just like, what are you even doing with these?
Yeah, I can't bring myself to do the same color and same pair of shoes. Like
That's good.
I have so many pairs of the same shoe, just different colors. That way I can rock them with different outfits and how I'm feeling. Oh, but man, it's just too much.
He ended up, this has been a long time ago, so he and I were a lot younger. He ended up selling some of his duplicates, and with that money, he bought his now wife's engagement ring. So it was just like, it was time, and it worked out to contribute to a happy cause. So
that's perfect. That's perfect.
Last thing, I know last time we talked, we discussed you don't like, or you didn't at the time like setting numerical goals, and your explanation was you get a little behind the eight ball and you can put even more pressure on yourself, right? And that I thought that was an impactful answer by you from a guy who put up some big numbers when at the time that we were talking to you, right? I mean, like most home runs in ACC history for a career, most home runs in Wake history for a career. Like numbers were a lot of the reason that people, were drawn to your abilities is because they see the numbers, and then it's like, okay, what's this guy look like? So I don't expect a numerical answer here. What's next? Like what do you prioritize? What are your goals for next year?
I mean, I think the ultimate goal is to just get in the big leagues, and then not only get to the big leagues, but stay in the big leagues. You kind of see that a lot where guys kind of go up and down. So I think I've, prepared enough and mentally prepared enough. And, that process, not only from Wake, but throughout my professional career as well, has kind of carried me into where I am now to be mentally prepared for that journey and out there and play. I think that was the biggest thing that I noticed myself in my first full year of pro season in 24 is like, all right, I have an expectation on myself of, I got to get to AAA, then I got to get to the big leagues. And that was the goal. And this year was like, and I didn't have a good year in 24. I didn't have a great year. And this year I was like, why am I continuing to set those goals if it's just going to continue to hinder me day in and day out? Because I had a bad day yesterday, like, I can't have another bad day. And then a couple bad days turn into a bad week, and then it turns into a couple bad weeks. So you just kind of can't let that snowball. And for me, just going out there and just having the joy of the game again and not having any of that pressure that I put on myself to go out there and do that, I think is the biggest piece. And, having that core group of guys like we did this year is hopefully we can kind of move up together and go into Nashville starting next year in AAA. To kind of have that core group again, I think was super huge for myself because it let me just be freer and play like it was at Wake. It was just, you had such a good group of guys that you didn't have to worry about doing something every at bat or making the play every single time in the field. Like it was like, okay, time for the next one. And that was super huge for myself this year. So hopefully that can continue and lead to good things next year.
Love it. All right. So visual therapy, that's on the docket for off-season training. What else sticks out? Is there anything being added to the mix? Anything that's going to be a point of emphasis?
Kind of doing the same things that I did last off-season. a lot of golf until I start my baseball activity, and then kind of cut the golf out. And this year it's a lot more family time. So it's super good, hanging out, being able to just ragdoll my kid around, throw him on the couch. He's getting to that age where it's Chase and Daddy, let's go play. And it's awesome because every day he wakes up and we put him in his crib to start the night, and he'll wake up about 2 or 3 in the night, and we'll bring him into bed with us, and he wakes up about 8:30 every day, and he goes, "Dad, ball." That's his favorite phrase, "Dad, ball," or "Dad, bat." So I'm like, all right, buddy, let's go. So we go downstairs, we grab a bat, grab a ball, and he's just chasing it, hitting everything. He's got golf clubs. He calls them his bats, and he's just whacking balls all across the house. So it's a fun mess around here, that's for sure.
I love it. I love that for you, man. I know as we were setting this up, you sent me a picture of him at a pumpkin patch, and you guys have done a monster truck jam. Like, seems like an awesome time in this recent stretch without games and all that to worry about.
Yeah, it's super fun. Just hang out with my little guy every day, hang out with my wife. We had date night last night. So being able to do things that you don't really get to do in season, just kind of be around the family more is awesome.
That's super, man. Super. Brock, good to see you, man. Good to catch up. Glad things are going well. And this was fun. Obviously we will do it again soon. Hopefully not 2.5 years from now. Although if that's the case, like, hopefully we're talking about you cemented as a big leaguer, and that would be fun to talk about too. So
that would be even better. You're right.
All right, man. Appreciate it as always. Good to see you, and take care. Enjoy your off season.
Thanks, brother. Good seeing you.